That might be
It's a
great,
sandbox.
but
It's a soapbox. It's FanBox.
Well, lucky day indeed, everybody. Hi, welcome. Another edition of Tardis Talks here on the FanBox Podcast Network. In case you don't know, my name is Will. If you're wondering where Tony is, there's a thing we like to say in the biz that he's out on assignment, which just means life's what happens when you're making other plans. In the meantime, I'm here. Don't forget, by the way, to check out all of the amazing articles you can find over on itsfanbox.com, as well as our other sister podcasts that are available on the FanBox Podcast Network. And that, gentlemen, is how you do a very quick, easy, sleazy intro when you don't really know what you're supposed to say. So, welcome, everybody. Tardis Talk. We are talking about the latest episode of Doctor Who, titled Lucky Day. With us today, in case you don't remember from the opening, my name is Will. You can find me anywhere. That Will Wilkins over at all your various social media sites. And David, just out of curiosity, tell the folks about you.
Hi, I am David Xanatos1138 on all socials. I also do the Andor After Show every Saturday night at 10 p.m. on It's FanBox. And now when I hear Will, I remembered I just said It's FanBox a lot in the intro. I did not promote anything else specifically, but I'm also on TikTok and Twitch mostly.
That's okay, man. That's how you learn. You learn by doing, or you do learn by hearing. At least that's what I always tell everybody. Also joining us with today, the Time Lord himself, Niko Skywalker.
Hello, Niko Skywalker on TikTok. Skywalker Niko. You can catch me on Tardis Talks because I love talking Doctor Who. It's like my favorite thing.
Awesome. Yes. Well, that's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
To be honest. So again, Tony is on assignment. We wish him and his family all the best. Hope everything is going well. So this week's episode of Doctor Who was the one that we expect every season. The Dr. Light episode, the one where he's like, look, man, I can't be number one on the whole sheet every single week. I got a life and I got things to do. We always get it. Sometimes they are incredible episodes, like when we experienced, what's the one I'm thinking of? Blink in the third series of Doctor Who. Some of them are okay, like Turn Left. This one's Lucky Day, and gives us an opportunity to drop back in and see what's going on with Ruby Sunday. Gentlemen, I'm just going to kind of release it to the table. Whoever wants to speak first, what do you want to say about this episode?
When I first watched it, about 5 minutes in, I said, why does this guy remind me of Adam? And then further into the episode, I said, oh, there it is. Yep, that's exactly why, because he was a sleazeball. But I feel like both of the Ruby Sunday-centric episodes, the one from last season and this season, I actually liked the most out of all the Dr. Light episodes. Like Turn Left was awesome. Blink was great. Blink is always the one recommended for people to watch first. I don't really agree with that, but it is a common opinion. I enjoyed the Ruby Sunday episodes much better than the other ones.
I have to admit that, oh gosh, what was the name of the one with 73 and a half yards? What?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the name it was?
Yeah, 73 yards. Or 74,
okay, there we go.
Like
Niko, what are your impressions of the episode?
These episodes with the Dr. Light shooty are a little scary because it's like I like this run for him, but also the world is kind of, I'm glad it exists without him. It runs, and it's not like these episodes are terrible and fall apart. They're like some of my favorite to watch. It's really fun.
Yeah, man, I gotta say that I was pleasantly surprised by this one. 73 yards I really enjoyed because it was a unique, different beast, right? It was something that gave you food for thought. And that's one thing I will say during this new era of RTD that we're getting is these episodes are very poignant and thoughtful. And for those that haven't seen the episode, that was your spoiler-free bit, guys. The spoiler warning is up. We're going deep. We're talking about all the details. We don't care about obscuring anything. So as they like to say, throw a like on it and come back later. because this episode, for those that aren't aware, again, it was very Ruby centric. It does start off with the Doctor and Belinda. Somebody stick a pin in that. And then it transitions into a Ruby Sunday episode, and without going into all the details. And I have to say that we do also get the Doctor at the end. But I do have to say that this one was very poignant because it kind of hits on a lot of the things that are going on today, whether you feel like it's your side of information that's getting persecuted, or you feel like it's your side of information that's getting insulted with all the lies out there. This one was a very poignant tale about online disinformation that I never saw coming. When this
At all.
turn hit, I did not see it coming. I was just like blown away. I'm like, wait a second, what? It's about disinformation and clout chasing?
I
These things.
I was my brain is like, no, Ruby Sunday has a boyfriend. That's cool. I never expected this. Oh, not really a boyfriend. People need. It makes sense.
Yeah, what did you think, David, when the hook dropped?
I so at first when he's saying I didn't take the antidote, I was like, you idiot. I knew it. I knew you were going to do that. You're going to be like, let's be like the Doctor and you. It's like, that's so you're such a dork. And then when it was revealed, when he took, when he unzipped the jacket and showed that he was just an incel, I'm like, oh man, this is so much worse than I expected it to be.
I think it was honestly speaking, like 73 yards gave me a lot of food for thought. But you know what? Before there he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Better late than never. Nice to see you, Johnny. Introduce yourself real quick before you. Right now, we're already at the point where we're talking about what we thought about the disinformation, clout chasing hook to the episode. But please remind everybody who you is.
Hi, everyone. So sorry for being late. I am Marvelous Johnny. Y'all can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, whatever. I just talk nerdy stuff. So yeah.
General thoughts on the episode, Johnny?
Very blunt by the end. It's like I got hit with a baseball bat.
Really?
That's the way I can
Interesting.
describe it. Yeah.
Do you just mean about the resolution, or do you mean about the I always get her name wrong, so I'm gonna hopefully get it right. The Mrs. Flood moment.
No, it's just the moment with the Doctor specifically.
Oh no, I actually kind of dug that, although it was one of those things where you wonder, okay, what drew him to this? But it like something must have picked up on his radar, and it was obviously in one of the moments between the Christmas special and the season opener for this season.
Yes,
and the thing that I said stick a pin in it is that at the point where the villain, again, I was so outraged in a good way by the concept that, of course, I've completely forgotten his name. Somebody else will remind me. But when he says
I know it
to
started with a C, and that's a bit.
yeah, Colin, was it Colin?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Conrad.
We'll just call him
Conrad.
Okay, Conrad. It's even worse. Because that sounds more like some douchey kind of rich money kind of guy.
Yeah, no, definitely
but-
sounds like old money.
But in this confrontation, Conrad says, well, have you met Belinda Chandra yet? And it's just like, is that the moment where somebody said the name and then he starts looking for her, which brings us into the season opener? What do you guys think on that?
Yeah.
I like that aspect of time travel stuff because we are playing with time travel, of course. So having things like that is always fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I the moment it happened, the moment he said that, at first I was confused because I'd already forgotten about the beginning of the episode by then. But then I came to realize, no, wait a second. We don't know how the Doctor knew Belinda Chandra's name. We just knew that he knew her name and he was looking for her. So I'm like, that's probably going to be it. And I would say that it was more of Moffat that worked with the timey-wimey stuff, like when you look at the Pandorica Opens or whatever the second part of that one was. And we've kind of already had a little bit of this in the RTD era with the Christmas special when he ends up going through the year of staying in the hotel, and he doesn't tell himself because he knows he's got to do that journey. So, but when we get into these kind of time loop situations, like, well, he knew Belinda Chandra's name because this guy said it, because he had met the doctor and Belinda Chandra back when he was a kid, and it's like, oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
We're going through the bootstrap paradox all over again.
Exactly. I think I'm going to get a headache and a nosebleed very, very soon. Who is my constant? Sorry, mixing medias. How did somebody else take the floor with another concept?
Okay.
Well, I'm just okay. We'll go
ahead, Niko.
Okay, so when they go on their first date, I realized that like the whole episode, Conrad, that's his name.
Yeah.
Like the jackets that they're wearing are both like Doctor inspired. Ruby's wearing a brown leather jacket, but it's just not long waisted, and Conrad's wearing like a darker version of the jacket that he met the Doctor in 2007, I believe.
Yeah.
Which kind of like foreshadows like he is inspired by the Doctor, but darker.
Yeah.
Also, Ruby wears rings like the Doctor's on her thumbs
Yes,
and index fingers now.
That was
pretty cool.
I was really hoping she would punch him with those on.
Oh,
I was really hoping she would hit him, and it never happened. He got his arm bitten, though.
I will say the one thing that also did not take me by surprise, as a person whose analytical mind unfortunately goes into overdrive. But I will say the moment he said he didn't take the antidote, and the reveal of the fact that he was a disinformation incel schmuck, the moment those two things happen, I'm like, is Unit going to release this Shreek on him? And then at the moment in the plot where it does happen, I'm like, well, I'm not going to say I'm sorry it happened, and I'm not sorry I predicted it, because I really want to see him get the wrong end of some Shriekness. Although I think it was a... Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was really hoping he was going to get disfigured by the end of it, so that he could look more like a monster in some sense.
And you bring up a good point, though. Like going around the room from David, Johnny to Niko, because that's how the clock looks from my perspective. What was your guys' interpretation of his post-injury? Did Unit actually give him a new arm?
I was wondering that only because of how it was latched, like here. It wasn't really a bandage. It looked more like a connector of some sort.
Yeah.
And
it looked like they just reattached it.
Yeah, it looked like maybe it was reattached, and maybe like it was healed. Like, I mean, because they got some wild technology, so it could have very well just been reattached or sewn together in a way that we don't have the knowledge of.
What do you think, Niko?
I think it'd be really cool to get a robot arm now.
But he doesn't deserve a cool robot.
Yeah, but he doesn't deserve it, so I'm going to say reattach.
ZB also joining in the chat, pointing out on the gear, the wardrobe that you clued in, Niko, which I did not see.
That's a good detail to notice, yeah.
It really was. But, then again, I will really admit that this was one of those times where the episode was going and I was multitasking, much like I was literally before this episode making coffee and breakfast for everybody in the house except me.
I was watching
That's not true.
it on the train.
I was just instantly amazed at the turn when it was revealed. It was one of those things where I was busy in the kitchen, and then I was like, wait a second, what? And I had to run back to get caught up. I'm like, wait a second now, hold on. What's going on? And the fact that he was very similar to other people who may be commented on in modern media, where not only was he dealing in disinformation, but was also one of those people that firmly seem rooted in, if you say the lie long enough, it becomes true. Right down to the point, right before the aforementioned arm injury happens, he has the gall, after just shy of urinating self, I'm sure, is to say, oh, at least your visual effects have improved.
I was really hoping Ruby was gonna like look up to the camera and just quickly go, oh, you seem to have soiled yourself or something like that, just for his viewers.
It would have been a nice moment, I think. It would have definitely been a good moment.
We do love comeuppance, but
yeah, but
yeah.
Like, is he really getting one? I mean, because there was a lot, and also, I'm really kind of tired of Ruby getting victimized in these standalone episodes, to be honest. 73 yards, again, an amazing tale. It was really interesting, especially in seeing somebody have to deal with an adversity that they don't understand.
Yep.
And, you know, like the questions that we had around it. It was a good bit of mystery when it was presented. But again, she lived an entire miserable lifetime that thankfully she doesn't remember. But now, once again, it's like, oh, look, Ruby finally found happiness. Everybody is making comment about how she doesn't date. She doesn't see people. And yes, I will acknowledge the fact that I think this was an important episode for the character of Ruby Sunday, because it helped her to come to grips in something else that we always probably wonder as fans, which is, what is life like after the doctor?
Exactly. And we get glimpses of that with Donna, but then she comes back in the 60th, so.
Do you think that this could have served as maybe a backdoor pilot for the unit show?
That's exactly what I was thinking while watching this episode.
They mentioned Mel is on her way to Sydney in this episode, which is where the C double show is going to take place.
Yeah, if not a backdoor pilot, it was definitely a gate too. But you know, we don't really see enough of these backdoor pilots anymore. I think the last time I saw one in broadcast television might have been The Rookie for a spin-off show they had with somebody in the FBI.
Yeah.
That's the last time I think I saw one. So a very, very valid point.
Probably Echo and Hawkeye for me, I guess.
Did anyone else think the minute he started disparaging Lethbridge Stewart, I'm like, oh, there's something bad going to happen to this?
Oh, I lost my mind when he did this.
Same.
I was like, whatever happens to him happens. I don't care anymore.
Dude, I've only seen him salute the doctor as a Cyberman, but just the amount of time and effort they've gone to talk about this man, I'm like, oh no, this guy's gonna get punched or something, because you don't talk about him. You don't talk
to Kate's dad like that.
Yeah.
God,
no. But I do have to wonder, with the amount of speculation we've been seeing in the news lately, both before the season launched, and the fact that, you know, we're partway through and there's still no commitment. Does anyone think we're going to get the unit spinoff? Do we think that Doctor Who is solidified enough to continue in this new fashion, or is the unit spinoff a great concept, but maybe the funding's not going to be there now?
That's the thing with the Disney whole thing, because like we're still hearing rumors that like Disney is thinking of ending their contract and deal with Doctor Who and the BBC, right? So
it's been. Go ahead, David.
After seeing Ncuti like that, we finally get him being somewhat menacing towards this person that hurt Ruby. It's like, we've now gone and gotten every aspect of the Doctor from I need to have another season of Ncuti. He needs to fully realize all of that into a third season.
He needs like Peter Capaldi's second series kind of moments after Clara dies.
Well, you know,
with Disney.
Tony himself, operating in the distance behind the scenes, probably frustratingly annoyed by the fact that I keep taking control away from him. That brings up a good point. As the voice of FanBox itself, would without Disney, and see, look, he's getting his revenge. Knock it off there, silly sir. I have to say that I think the important thing for all of us to remember is that we would not be getting Ncuti's era if this deal hadn't been struck. I mean, because really the BBC has done more hands-off in this new era than they ever have, because basically they said, okay, let's subcontract out Doctor Who to RTD's company, and RTD does a partnership with Disney to help make sure there's funding. And I guarantee you right now, if they approached more licensing, making more things, more than just our sonic screwdrivers, and they gave part of those licensing rights to Disney.
If they gave it to like Hasbro, they could make bank for sure, I think.
Exactly. And at which point then you wouldn't really have to worry about Doctor Who funding at all. But would it be better off with Disney? I don't think so, because so far anyway, I'm not one of those people that has hunted out any of the behind the scenes stuff. But for example, the only feedback that Disney had in the first one was they needed a little more exposition on the Doctor for the very first Christmas special that was the premiere, and that's where they just included tiny little bits, and it wasn't so bad.
So that's I don't think Disney's harming Doctor Who, and I'm only aware of 2 instances where Disney has gotten involved in some sense that was evident in the episodes we've seen, and that was the very first special we've had of the 60th, where 14 and Donna are doing that recap, right? Of I had a best friend, I had to erase her mind, just to recap the RTD era with Donna.
Which, by the way, did anyone else feel that was the most awkward opening ever?
100%. It was very awkward. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, but I understand why it was necessary. Because you're bringing Doctor Who to a new platform. You're trying to appeal it to new fans. You're trying to tell people, hey, you can start Doctor Who from here, but we're still going to pull from the old lore, the old media. So rather than having to go back and make you do homework, just here's the recap. Let's get on with it.
By the way, American, and I'm sorry, approaching from an American approach, Johnny, please forgive me. But because I don't know what it's like in Canada, but from an American perspective, the licensing rights of Doctor Who itself has been a very complex and myriad thing for the longest time, because there was a brief time Sci-Fi had the rights. Then Amazon had the rights. Then HBO Max has the rights for all the episodes up to a certain point. So you have to chase around to try and find, and now it's on Disney Plus. I'm sorry, Niko and David, once again sitting in on the Johnny and Will show, but I have to ask from a Canadian perspective, what have the rights been like for Doctor Who?
So when it came to my experience with Doctor Who, I still remember when I still got into it when I was in the 9th grade, which is over 10 years ago now. Doctor Who was on Netflix, and that was all the way up until the Matt Smith era. And then
that's right, I forgot about Netflix too.
Yeah. And I started watching from the Capaldi era, and I would just find it online because I didn't have Sci-Fi. I know it was on Sci-Fi though, so that's how I watched Capaldi's run until his second series, where I was able to watch it on Sci-Fi. And then I just skipped Jodie's run, quite frankly. I bought her DVD collection and then just watched it like that. And now I'm just watching 60th on Disney Plus, which, not too bad. But Classic Who isn't available anywhere right now.
Yeah.
BritBox. That's it.
Oh, it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look into BritBox, but it's not available on your standard platforms. It's not available on your big ones, right?
Do you mean classic Who or new Who? Because
classic.
Yeah. That's as far as I know, that's still on BritBox.
Okay.
Whatever they could recover, because some episodes were unrecoverable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tubi has all of the available episodes categorized by Doctor.
See,
it
that's
is
nice.
Surprisingly one of the best places to watch old Who.
Pluto with ads. Okay, good to know.
I remember I tried to watch an older episode, but it was with, again, microphones in front of my face, so I can't remember any details. But the one who wore the really long scarf, who was almost
Tom Baker.
Yeah, Tom Baker. It was a Tom Baker episode, and I got into about 10 minutes of it, and I'm like, no, I got to tap out, man. This is too much like the far out space nuts visual effects wise. This is not my jam.
I just remember really loving the third Doctor's run. I love John Pertwee's Doctor.
I watched most of the first Doctor, a couple episodes of the second Doctor. I don't think I liked the second Doctor, and I watched the introduction of Sutek, so a little bit later.
Yeah, but no, at least with Doctor Who in Canada, from Christopher Eccleston to the end of Capaldi's run, that's all on Prime. Jodie's Whittaker run isn't available anywhere though, so yeah.
Well, that's not exactly true because it's available on my Plex, but let's not get into that.
It's so with the subject of better without Disney, I think heavily benefits from Disney budget.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm not sure how involved right now RTD is, like if he's all the way involved or just kind of in the background, but I feel like a lot of the plot becomes predictable if he's the one dictating the end game because he has a
Yeah.
very specific writing style. So I feel like it would heavily benefit from other writers or somebody to tell him, "Hey, let's not do that again," or
No,
"Let's go a
legit.
different direction."
I
You know,
like
What?
hot take. I think RTD is the issue, and I kind of get why Disney wants him out in some sense, but at the same time, like I still see the value of having him around.
yeah.
I want to hear what Niko has to say.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Not that
I
I
think
didn't care about what you said, Johnny. To be clear, but I'm also interested to hear his take.
I think my
Uh,
favorite aspect that Disney has brought to Doctor Who is promotion and
hmm.
the social media game. They have been killing it,
Yes.
Mhm.
and people who I never expected to even have Doctor Who on their radar, like, oh yeah, I saw the last commercial. It looks really good. I have to tune in. I'm like, Disney's doing
Wow.
that.
That's an interesting take because it's not really coming across on my socials at all. I don't know, maybe I'm not following the right accounts, but also, like, quite frustratingly, I don't know what it's like for anyone else, but Saturday morning, I sit down and yeah, obviously it's a certain day of of a certain month, so there's a lot of activity going on. Like when you first load Disney Plus right now, there's a lightsaber that helps bring that little spark to the plus symbol because it's May the 4th. How we could not acknowledge it, I don't know. But when I sat down
In
Saturday
which case, be
morning,
sure
because
to
I'm
check out
like,
our May the Fourth show later today.
oh, there you go. I would, but but not unfortunately. But I'm going to be on the Real Study where we're talking at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to be talking Solo and Rogue One, uh, which, by the way, loved them both. But anyway, but when I sat down Saturday morning, you would think dropped at midnight, right? Should be one of the things at the very top of the banner, but I had to scroll
It's not
7
there.
tiles.
Yeah, no, I always have to go to my continue watching list, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
only place I can find it.
Yeah,
That or I have
it's
to
like,
search for it.
come on, which gives me some concern. But
Mhm.
let's get back to the episode at hand. Let's get back to talking a little bit, at least more,
I
about
do want
Lucky
to add
Day.
one more quick thing about
No,
Doctor Who for
no,
Disney.
I'm not going to allow it. I'm in control of the show. I'm kidding, Johnny. Go ahead.
I will say I want more episodes in a season though, because like was it
Yes.
Oh,
like we're at 9 or something like that?
Not
yeah.
enough. I need at
Is
least twice as
yeah,
much.
no, like Jodie's run it was affected by COVID, but like even with Capaldi's run, he still had like I think like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
That's a healthy number. That's a fine number.
Yeah, nothing has been back to normal since, because if you remember, actually, I don't even think it was COVID. I think Whitaker's run originally was just dictated by lower episode counts, and now that's become the norm, which I'm not happy with. Give me my 13 or my 12, or,
Mhm.
whatever that number was. But interestingly enough, we let you say that bit, and it's a very good point, because we are at the theoretical halfway point, right? We're on one side or the other of it. Where do you guys think we're going? For once, I'm going to shut up and reserve where I think this is going to the very end. But starting with Niko, where do you think the series' overarching story is going?
All right. Um.
Is he checking notes? He's like, oh, I've
Yes.
been waiting for
Yeah.
this.
So there's a character in this 15 comic called the Scream Sommelier, something like that. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but it's where I thought this episode was going with Shreek, and he is another god in the pantheon, but but based on fear. So I think that he might pop up again at the end of this season. Am I reaching? Yeah. Do I just want to see him because he's super cool? Yeah.
It's okay to have theories, man. David, what do you think?
I mean, I don't exactly have an end game in mind, anything specific, but like I just had this image of maybe it's going to end up where he has to face all of the gods that he's come across. Like they're just going to be coming back in some capacity for one last final thing, and I just picture like the Doctor standing and they're just all up above him, and it like I'm just visually picturing like an end moment like that, and something occurs where he gets to defeat them all or keep them away from the reality, so like he essentially defeats them, you know.
Okay.
What about you, Johnny?
So I gotta give a shout out to Theories by T for this idea. I think
Oh,
you guys know what I'm talking about, but his theory is that it's going to be revealed that the Doctor is a god himself of life. And I
Which-
really like that idea.
oh my gosh. The moment I saw that doesn't align with my theory, but I guess it does in a way. But the moment I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes perfect sense, because
It would.
all of the gods of the pantheon are from a different dimension. It turns out so is the Doctor. And you know what? Just go look up Theories by T on TikTok. We don't need to steal his content. But
Shout out to Tyrell. Love the guy.
oh,
That
I
is on
absolutely love
location.
Tyrell, and he's even connected to the show in many ways. So
There we go.
but definitely check that out. Now, my theory that I have had since this season, and I didn't look at the episode titles ahead of time, so I came up with this concept before I even saw that, because the final episode of the season is called The Reality War, which I think just reinforces my concept. Because obviously Mrs. Flood is the one that's kind of connecting us through all the episodes, similar to what we had last season. But she has also she breaks character and talks to the fourth wall. So I think, I don't know what all the gods of the pantheon are, but I think she is the god of reality. Or my original concept was like kind of like the god of storytelling, or of story, or of time, or something, to where she is breaking out of whatever she's doing to talk to us, because she's aware of us as the viewer, because we're in a different reality watching their reality. So I think she is also one of the gods of the pantheon, and she is something along those lines. So in the end, they have to fight to kind of break out of whatever narrative that she has been that she has essentially, I think, trapped the Doctor in. At some point, he's been trapped into the reality that she's dictating, maybe from the moment we saw the toy maker. You know what I mean? And this
Maybe.
bi-generation stuff happened. I just, that's kind of what I think. I think that obviously Mrs. Flood is going to be one of the gods of the pantheon, and that's the reason why she knows, like she said, that he was going to go screaming or some nonsense like that. That's my theory. That's where I think we're going.
That's the thing. Like, after this episode, I think she is a Time Lord.
Well,
with a title like the Governor.
She literally is everywhere. Like there's a point in the middle of the episode where they're trying to find an anomaly in unit, and Ruby comes up and she goes, well, let's get past that one. And then the end of the episode, when she's going to Conrad, the back of her, when they have the camera on her, she dressed and has the same hairstyle as Ruby did in one of the like last scenes. And it just, she's definitely integrated in a multiple facets of this.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think I mean, obviously she's going, I mean, if we get to the end of the season and she's not the big bad, I'm gonna have issues with somebody. Okay. Because you don't plant her throughout, even though I was still confused about what was the name of the person last season that was episode to episode.
The
Susan one that was in charge. Yeah. Okay.
Triad.
Susan. Yeah. Because everyone was like, oh, it's Susan. No, it's not Susan. But you know, in many ways, like I think I've actually, with time, I've actually partially forgotten what the concept of like what Susan was or who she is now, kind of thing.
Well, from what Tony just said, because she's been dressed as Ruby, she's been dressed as Clara. She we actually thought she was the Master at some point. It's still an ongoing thing.
At the end of the first season, she was just like
the Ronnie.
Yeah, the Ronnie and Romana. There we go.
Oh, that's
so
what I was
she's
thinking.
Been dressed like a lot of characters.
And that's probably an intentional misdirect. You know what I mean? Like putting her in all of these outfits. But she is also the only person that has talked to us, the audience. And I think that is going to be a key to who it is that she is. Personally, I hope. I just hope we're going somewhere into a resolution that can make sense for me, because as a person that never watched old Who, bringing up Sutek as the big bad from last season is like bringing up some random Cylon from the first season of Battlestar Galactica being the major bad guy. And I may have dated myself for that reference, not for the sci-fi reboot.
As long as they don't go to the lengths of pointing at a street sign and saying the friends we made along the way, and anything is better than that.
Oh Lord.
Oh man. Don't get me started, man. I don't know what it was, but at the moment where Ruby's birth mother showed up in this week's episode, I had rage again. I just had absolute rage. It's like, what is she pointing at? Why was she even dressed like that in the past to drop off her baby? Like, I'm gonna throw on an extra large poncho with a hood. Why?
She was just a teenager. She maybe had like a certain style she was going for.
But what was she pointing at? She wasn't pointing at anything. She had nothing to do with it.
There was a couple of Star Wars movies that released around Christmas, so maybe she was dressed up to go see Star Wars.
Maybe. I don't know. She wanted to join the rebellion. That was like one of my last season. That was one of my biggest problems. It really was, because you don't build something up to be a nothing. Like the mystery of Ruby's mother. It was Rise of Skywalker for me all over again. You know what I mean? Versus The Last Jedi. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Her parents are completely unimportant? No. Now her biologically speaking, she's a Palpatine. It's like, you know what? No, just no. You don't get to do that to me. Don't toy with my emotions in this way. If you're saying so, if there's a mystery around somebody's parentage, just make it, agree what it is from the beginning and make it good. Mm-hmm. Okay? I want some payoff, because you're making me waste mental cycles on this.
Learn how to build on it.
What did you guys think about Kate Lethbridge Stewart apparently getting busy with the commander dude?
Look, he looks like freaking Adam Driver. I get it.
I'm happy for her.
Same.
Yeah.
I say, girl, get yours. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. It was also nice to see what's her name in the wheelchair from the
Mel
from this, what I guess we just kind of refer to as the 60th specials. It was nice seeing her back again, because when we dipped back to unit last time, I'm like, where'd she go?
Yeah,
where's she at?
Was it? She's like something scientist.
Shirley Ann Bingham.
Oh yeah, she's the new scientific advisor for you.
That's what it was. Yeah, because
or something.
Glasses girl
like,
with
I was
fours. Yeah, because like Glasses girl with the fours scarf died.
Osgood,
Osgood, but she didn't, because there was another one of her too. Remember?
But that was just the Zygon.
Mm-hmm. But we don't know which one is which.
No, remember? The Zygon, another Zygon replaces the Zygon that died, and there's still two Osgoods after that.
Oh my god.
And they refused to tell you which one died.
Because it's not important.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, all I remember that episode is that speech.
Yeah, that cycle keeps going on. It keeps happening. So we have no idea how many times they've been replaced and dead and brought. It could be they could both be humans, they could both be Zygons. Who knows?
So what I'm hearing is we could kill off any of the companions and still have them come back as Zygons.
Yeah.
Look, man, here's the thing. Other than the fact that we as people, like, genetically are encoded to age, it's a show about time travel. So you can have a moment with any of the companions that could have occurred in a window of something else. And then, at the end, the doctor is just like, you know what I mean?
So long.
Keep it quiet. Don't tell Dad.
He's a dude dressed as a dude,
You know,
disguised as another dude. Yeah.
Poor Tony is just sitting in the control room, chomping at the bit. He's like got all these ideas and these thoughts, man. You know, like Hats was saying, it's like, "Woo, woo," you know, he's just got all these ideas and he can't convey them right now. I'm sorry, Tony. I've taken over your show. Deal with it. What was the major thing we all got out of this episode this week? Like, what was the one big takeaway?
I'm trusting my gut when it comes to white men.
A white man? Oh,
what does security do about it? Nothing. Typical.
Niko, what's your big takeaway this week?
It gives me more faith in a show not based around the Doctor in the Doctor Who universe.
Maybe my biggest moment or takeaway is when the Doctor is talking to Conrad and just basically says, "You want spoilers?" and tells him, "Here's exactly how you're going to die."
Yeah.
Like that was my favorite moment of the whole show.
I mean, realistically speaking, that's like the one thing that the one power the Doctor can have that can just rock any single mortal is the fact that I've seen it. I've slipped ahead. I already know.
Mhm.
This is how you go. It ain't pretty and you're alone.
I also
oh.
like the idea that like the Doctor is always going to look out for his companions and anyone who treats them poorly. Which, like, we should have known with 12 and Danny.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But, like, Danny didn't treat Clara poorly. He was just a soldier, so.
Although I gotta say, man, there are certain moments in Doctor Who, and I know in many ways it's silly to talk about a TV show this way, but there are many moments in this series as a whole of New Who that have literally brought me to tears. Like, if you play I Am the Doctor for me, I will get goosebumps. With oh my god, with Amy at her wedding, where she does the little mini speech of you clever man, you thought I, wouldn't do something blue. You're late for my wedding, and at that moment, I just get choked up for dumb reasons. Okay, it's a good emotional show. When we had Capaldi's regeneration, and suddenly we discover this moment where the Doctor, in looking out for his companion, says, "Look, I know it." He calls her up, and this dangling phone we saw in the season finale or the special that then transitions into the premiere. And now we find out why that phone was dangling, that he called his companion and said, "Look, I know it's not my face, but you got to trust him. He's going to look out for you. He's me." That absolutely killed me. And seeing Shooty's visceral reaction to what Conrad had done, again, in many ways, it humbled me, but it also choked me up in a way, because he's just like, for use of current terminology, his mama clause came out. You know what I mean? He was ready to protect.
No, he definitely did. However, now that you say this, I'm just wondering, what is Shooty's theme? Because, like, I can definitely pinpoint 10s, 11s, and 12s. I can't pinpoint Shooty's theme yet.
I'm not picking up that there is one. There isn't, but then I think in the modern era, there is nothing that I think can be directly attributed to the Doctor more than I Am the Doctor. Murray Gold's wonderful and amazing theme for 11. That, and it's as a piece of music, it is beautiful because it encapsulates some of the concepts of what we understand musically of the Doctor Who theme, but at the same time, considering that was a very fairy tale season in a way, it is very whimsical in its musical presentation as well. I mean, it has beautiful childlike tones and then serious tones of major gravitas, and then just finalizes into fun. I mean, it's just a very, I can't believe I'm talking about a TV show piece of music this way, but it's true. It's very, it really ties in to human emotion while being directly attributed to one of the most adorable doctors we have had in the modern era, who I would have said Smith has a lock on it, okay? Up until the point where I heard Nshudi say, "Oh, honey." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in. Bring it now."
I do love that.
I do
Gotta
love
be
that
on
he brings
record.
a little
I
bit of the
love
sass.
Shooty's theme.
Mm.
What's that, Niko?
I said I gotta be on record. I love Shooty's theme. I love it so much.
Okay,
Just
I'm ready to go
meaning,
find it now.
Yeah.
is there a directly attributed theme, or are you just talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the?
he has a theme. It's the it starts with
Okay,
the I've listened to it so much.
See,
It's made by Murgo too.
see, now I gotta go look. Now I gotta go look it up on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it's a little secret agency, but also like
Okay,
whimsical and mysterious.
okay,
It
I
gives
can
you
dig
a
that.
real good idea of who Shooty Talker is.
Okay,
it's mysterious and important.
Yeah.
honey,
Exactly. See, ZB gets it. He knows. I don't know, guys. Kind of, I think we're at that point. Still 13 minutes shy of the hour, but like, kind of final thoughts on the episode.
Well, I can easily fill it up if you would like, Will.
I mean, Niko and David should have an opportunity to speak, dude. I'm just saying.
I mean, by all means, you guys can go. I was just gonna ask for your previous rating since you weren't here for the last 2 episodes.
Knowing
very
Johnny,
good.
that sounded like a threat.
Hey, Tony, bugger off with the comments, man. Nobody needs you saying rate the episode. Actually, last week's episode. So last week's episode was The Well, right?
Yes. And the week before that was Lux, which I don't have yours for.
Okay, so Lux, remind me again what happened in that one.
The
Mr.
God of Light.
Mr. Ring-a-Ding. Unlike most people, I really, really enjoyed that episode because it was very straightforward in the concept with a very straightforward, in a way, villain. You know, it's like this god of light just happens through circumstance to be made living. And then, ironically, the resolution is just returning the light back to where it was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was great. And I really enjoyed the story. So I would give that one a solid 8 out of 10 if that's the ranking we're using. You can attribute to whoever you want. Last week, The Well. Oh my gosh. That one was 9.5 for me.
Oh my God.
Right down to the point where, because it was one of those ones where, as I was watching the episode, at the moment where they start talking about, what was it that triggered it for me? Oh, when they were pointing out the radiation, nothing can live and everything else. For a moment, I forgot that RTD said we wouldn't really see the villains of the past. And I was like, is this going to be a Weeping Angels thing somehow? Is this a Weeping Angels thing? So the fact that it got me and it hooked me, because it wasn't that, they were back on midnight. I thought that was great. And I also was both extremely frustrated and annoyed on my rewatch to discover that the thing that I hated the most about the episode was set up, because I don't like when there is, in horror tropes, a noble sacrifice for naught. Okay.
Yes.
Which this episode had. But when I rewatched the damn episode, when there's supposed to be 3 people on that airlock and it reads 4 entities, they were letting us know before she even jumped back in the well, thinking with the other midnight creature on her back, that one of them already made it out. So, there's more than one, guys, kind of situation. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And I give that one, like I said, a solid 9.5. This week's episode, I liked it more than I thought I was going to for a standalone episode. And I would definitely give it, I would say, it's not fair for me to rate it because I wasn't fully engaged with it and I haven't done a rewatch. So my initial gut reaction is
next week.
I'm going to give it 7.5 this week.
7.5? Okay.
Okay, Niko, what's your rating for the episode this week?
Tony, comment yours while at it.
I like this episode more than I thought I'd like it.
No, there's no Tony anymore. There's no Tony in this show. Okay? and if you guys think I'm going to sit back and let him... Suddenly this is feeling like Duck Amuck.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode way more than I thought I did. I'm gonna give it an 8.
8. Okay.
Okay.
David.
Man, I'm usually harsher with ratings. I'm going to give this one a 9.5.
Oh damn. Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Very good. Somebody's definitely giving it some Blink vibes then. Okay.
I'm giving it a 6.
Ooh. Okay. Hold up. I think one of the things we should do from now on, as the lowest ranking rank that came in, why are you so and where we had so basically David gave it a 9.5.
Mm,
So the top ranking was David's, the lowest ranking was Johnny's.
yeah,
All right, gentlemen, you're stepping into the Thunderdome now.
I like this. I actually like this a
Okay,
lot.
so I want Johnny's point for why he only gave it a 6. Then I want David's counterpoint on why Johnny's wrong.
White people.
That's why I'm wrong.
Never
Or
mind.
that's my reasoning.
That's what his I don't think. Look, man, I just say it.
There was a lot of white people in this episode. Let's not lie.
No, if it hadn't been for Ruby's adopted family, this would have been a very inadverse episode or indiverse.
Yeah.
But seriously, Johnny, why the low ranking?
Okay, so like overall, I think I understand the story and I like the desire to tell a narrative about how people can manipulate and lie their way through life and can profit off of it all while at it. That's the nice part. But I think the way it was done wasn't done well to me because I think I don't know about you guys, but like right now I'm in a fairly rebellious stage of my life. I know, right? I'm totally 16. But like right now I think with the way governments are going, I think this idea of trying to create a narrative where oh yeah, no, the government's fine, they're right, people are just messing with the government. That's not sitting well with me.
See, and I got to tell you, Johnny, that's part of the reason why I ranked this one so high because without getting into detail, let's just say there are many times in the news cycle where I'm thankful I don't regularly have heavy, sharp objects near me because they would go through my television or my device would fly across the room because I'm just so frustrated at hearing blatant contradiction to fact and it being permitted to be spoken and absorbed and then made into talking points by others. So for me, that's part of why I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a good eye-opening, if you will, for what we're seeing today in modern society and modern politics and the way misinformation can be so easily carried. And it's amazing the way we've learned none of our lessons from it so far. And America, I'm looking at you because, there are people that will just believe whatever facts they are fed. And they'll tell you to do your own research afterwards. And so I appreciated that message trying to come across here. And honestly speaking, if that hadn't been the message, I don't know how well I would have felt about this episode. Well, but David, why do you rank it so high?
This episode does a few things where like it shows you that even in a Dr. Light episode, there are still so many rich characters that have substance, and just the delivery of the social commentary and the theme and the plot was just subtle enough to not be heavy-handed. Like it towed that line to where it wasn't like we've seen worse. We've seen more heavy-handed things, but there are a lot of things in this that are still going to fly over people's heads because they're not going to see any issues with it.
That's the thing. I think even like specifically without the doctor aspects of him coming in to explain the overall episode to us, I think it was fairly obvious enough. So I think the doctor coming in, which is why I said it was so blunt at the start.
Okay, right? Compare and contrast. Does anyone else in the room watch The Rookie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see this week's episode?
Yes, with the cell phones.
Okay, so like literally we almost have another perspective on social media.
Cutie on duty.
Navy blue booties. Go ahead and write me up.
Hey,
look, for those of you that are just listening to the podcast, Tony just timed in with Cop Cutie via messaging because, Tony's in the control room. He just can't broadcast, which I should have made clear at the very beginning. People wondering why I'm arguing with a guy who's not here. It's not the voices in my head. Well, not all of them. Anyway, getting back to it, this week was another interesting social media commentary because, it was an influencer / clout chaser / obnoxious Gen Alpha, I'm guessing is what they would be categorized
No, it was
as.
Gen Z. It was Gen
Oh, they were
Z.
so a Gen Zer,
As a Gen Z, I
who
can
is
testify.
who much like in this story is somebody who has a social media following and is just quote unquote living that lifestyle, which I thought was interesting in this episode with the revelation of like Conrad. No, his abusive mother, that woman is no, she's still alive. He even bought her a house.
Clearly,
He's making
he did not abuse him enough.
And honestly speaking, that's I think my only real complaint about this episode and that episode of The Rookie is that they make it just seem like anybody can spin up an online following and starts raking in the dough, and I think all of us can frustratingly say, "No, it's not that easy."
I mean, if we really want to just bank off hate, I think we could.
We've known
Yeah.
people that have done that.
Yeah.
So it's because we have morals, but I thought it was interesting in this very week we had 2 episodes, 2 different shows giving us like 2 looks at either side of the same coin, either the massive popularity or the hate peddling.
I was too, honestly.
Yeah, ZB pointing out, just release the Shreek, which I knew that was going to happen once he was serious about not taking the antidote, which, which I actually questioned if he had or not, given the fact that he knew there wasn't real Shrieks running around this village he was in. But I thought that was an interesting social commentary. David, your points are very valid. I'm not saying they're going to overturn Johnny's decision. I don't think the room was swayed either way. So, gentlemen, you can both just leave in a very uncharacteristic move. Let's both peacefully just leave the Thunderdome and move on.
Well, now that I know that you both watched The Rookie, I'm going to send you a video I sent to Niko that's very poignant about Ridley.
Boy. Oh, God. That paraplegic little shit now.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. Welcome to Rookie Talk. Welcome to Rookie Welcome to
Rookie Recaps. There we go.
Yeah, Rookie Recaps, Rookie Hookie, whatever you want to call it. Rookie the Shop Talk kind of thing. But I had to admit, I personally thought first it was a very ballsy move for the show to introduce a character that they intentionally were getting rid of, right? And then when he came back too, I thought it was good in the way that they did it, because you have a character who in the long run really does want to make themselves better, but still has to suffer the consequences of their actions. So I thought that was great. Very similar in a way to what we saw this week in Doctor Who as well. It's like you're going to die in a prison cell alone. That's you. Which I thought was great.
I am annoyed that Ridley's mistake during the fire outbreak with Chen and Bradford never came back, though. I'm just going to quickly add that in there. It annoys me.
There's only so much you can do.
Nail in the coffin in case he comes back. Nope.
Legit.
Amputee.
Nope. Just loses a leg. He's a hero. I'm like, for fuck's sakes.
Not to bring up a kind of a bad point, but it was the same thing actually in the series Angel, where they started off with the one actor who was part demon, and he was only around for like the first 3 or 6 episodes. The intention was always to kill him off. So again, I thought that was ballsy of them. And anyone seen Thunderbolts? Were you guys a little shocked about how soon something happened? It's like, wow, that happened quick and dirty. They did them dirty real fast, but we're not going to get into that right now. Look.
We're saving.
Do us a favor, guys. If you've made it this far into the episode, be sure to, however you ingest your media, throw us your comments. What did you rate the episode? What did you think about the episode? Tell us in the comments below what you would have ranked it as. What was your favorite moment? Your least favorite moment? Share it all with us. Why? It's a fan box, right? It's a soapbox. It's a something box. It's a sandbox. It's a fan box. It's all about fans' use. So please be sure to share your opinions, your ideas, your concepts with us in the comment section. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Hit that bell so that way you get alerted. That's what the kids say, right? Don't forget always also plenty of articles and news and information for fandom available on itsfanbox.com. Also, there are plenty of podcasts also available on the FanBox Podcast Network, including the Andor one that I helped produce with David last night and dropped in on briefly.
And I didn't. I'm so sorry.
And Johnny, where is your Star Wars one later? Where's that happening?
That's happening on FanBox as well. David, what time is it at? Because I don't remember.
Not a good sign, bro. Not a good sign.
See, I'm not even sure. I thought it was 8 p.m. Eastern my time.
It is.
There we go. All right.
There we go. So 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. The May the 4th be with you special here on FanBox. Let's go around the room, guys. Tell everyone where they can find you, starting with Niko up in that corner right next to me.
Niko Skywalker on TikTok, Skywalker Niko for my Instagram posts and my photo shoots. It's FanBox with Tardis Talk, if you want to hear me talk.
There we go. David.
Xanatos1138 on all socials. I am here on It's FanBox for multiple shows, including the Andor After Show for at least a couple more weeks. Mostly TikTok and starting to try and do Twitch, but all socials regardless. That's me.
There we go. And Johnny.
Y'all can find me at Marvel's Jonathan or Johnny on my Instagrams, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. And yeah, be sure to tune into FanBox stuff because I am a part of a couple of shows which I sometimes appear depending on how my schedule works out. It's very
and what's the quirky thing you say about Marvelous? It's got a U because you're Canadian.
It's got 2 L's because I'm Canadian.
Thank you. I knew it was one of them. How do you spell color?
COLOUR.
Color.
Yeah,
you should ask us how we spell center.
No thanks.
No, how do you guys spell center?
CENTER.
It's TRE for us.
Centre.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense. Centre. Look, and if you want to find me, it's that Will Wilkins on pretty much any place that if you bothered to look for me, you could find me. It's just that simple. Later on today, again, as I mentioned, I'll be on The Real Study, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can find that. It's also on the FanBox Network. So we're going to be counter-programming for, it sounds like, an hour, too. So that way, look, man, the FanBox Podcast Network has got so much it's throwing at you. You can decide midway through what you want to do. That's nuts, man.
If you're ever just tired and you want some content to listen to.
Yeah, man.
I will.
We have a plethora.
I will make a note to tune into The Real Study because Rogue One is my top 2 Star Wars movie.
I don't want to tease it, but yeah. I mean, of the 2 movies I watched, I enjoyed both of them. But like Rogue One to me is one of the... and it's interesting that it is connected to Andor because it is truly one of the, in modern storytelling, one of the best Star Wars stories ever told. And it leads into one of the best series so far we've seen on Disney Plus. But I've already said too much.
Prequel.
Yeah, look, guys, thanks for dropping in with us this week. We really appreciate it here on Tardis Talk. Don't forget to check us out next week when we're going to be talking about the next episode. I should know the title. I don't care.
Would you like me to pull it up?
I mean, it would be great, but
it's called
I've already kind of.
The Engine.
It's what?
The Story and the Engine.
That almost makes as little sense as Dot and Bubble that we were given last.
I mean, it also takes place in, was it Nigeria?
Or
yes, it does.
There we go.
So it's probably more meaningful.
Especially,
by the way, I just have to mention again, like Dot and Bubble, like show of hands, how many people got through the whole episode and didn't realize we were dealing with nothing but racists?
Oh, dude, Sarah last week didn't realize it until we started talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She says she's gonna need to go back and rewatch it. Hopefully she has, and hopefully she'll come back on soon and we can talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, guys. Until next time, all of us here at Tardis Talk, thank you very much for joining us. And who knows what will happen next week?
Who knows? Maybe I won't be on because there's spiders in next week's episode.
Fair enough. Wave goodbye, everybody.
Bye.